properties of Z transform. All right, Z transform of xn is equal to n equal to minus infinity to plus infinity xn z to the z minus n, which will give you xz. Okay, so let us discuss the different properties. First property is the linearity property. Linearity property. Okay. Now what is that? Now it states that if Z transform of xn is xz and Z transform of yn is yz, then Z transform of alpha xn plus beta yn is equal to what? কি হবে? It will be alpha xz plus beta yz. All right. All right. Simple. Today, if Z transform of alpha xn is xz and Z transform of yn is yz, then Z transform of alpha xn plus beta yn is equal to alpha xz plus beta yz. For example, say Z transform with Z transform of un is 1 by 1 minus z inverse, or you can write z by z minus 1. All right, you know that. And say for example, z transform of r to the power n un, what is that? This is 1 by 1 minus r z inverse, right? So that is z by z minus r. So that means if it's given, they find the z transform of 5 un plus 10 rn un. That means, so it will be the z transform of 5 un, or you can write this as z transform of 5 into z transform of un plus 10 into z transform of rn un. Now you know z transform of un, which is 1 by 1 minus z inverse, and z transform of rn un you also know, that is 1 by r z inverse. All right. So this is called the linearity property. Let's we have discussed, say, for example, that 0.4 in un plus say 0.8 or zero point 0.6, I think 0.6 un, zero point 0.6 u of n minus 1. So you can use same we are using linear property. No? So this is the z transform of un plus the z transform, then we'll add, this is basically the linearity property. All right. Next property is known as the multiplication property. Multiplication property. You can write, say, if z transform of xn is xz, then z transform of a to the power n xn. All right. Look. All right, so you have multiplication by a to the power n. Oh, that is the multiplication property. Okay, multiplication of by an exponential sequence a to the power n. This says that this will be equal to x of a inverse z. All right. Now it states that if z transform of a to the xn is xz, then z transform of a to the power n xn. For example, say you can easily prove that. Let us, for example, say z transform of half to the power n un. What will be the result? What will be the result? কি হবে রেজাল্টটা বলো? Z by z minus half, তাই তো? Or you can use this by using this property. Say, as we know, z transform of un. What is z transform of un? Is 1 by 1 minus z inverse, তাই তো? That is the z transform of un. মনে আছে তো? Z transform of un
Yes, sir.
is 1 by 1 minus z inverse. Now, If you want to calculate z transform of half to the power n un, so z, replace z by a inverse z. That means here replace z by this. তাই না, মনে আছে তো? It's replace, so replacing z by half inverse z. All right, that means 1 by 1 minus half z inverse, which is z by z minus half. All right, that is called multiplication property. So if, okay, so let us prove that. So proof is not required. Uh, so then we know z transform of xn. What is that? Which is summation n equal to minus infinity to plus infinity xn z to the power minus n. All right. Now z transform of a to the power n xn. This will be n equal to minus infinity to plus infinity a n xn, putting the value z to the minus n. Now you can club this a to the power n z to the power minus n as what can write xn a a কি লিখতে পারি বলো, a inverse z to the power minus n. All right, লিখতে পারি তো? So that means if you pick this p as a inverse z, so this will be, you can write this as, লিখতে পারি তো এটা, মানে এটা কি দাঁড়ালো, বুঝতে পারছো কি? মানে তার মানে এটা বেসিক্যালি this is this is basically x of p. If you consider, this will be x of p. If p means basically x of a inverse z. If you consider this as p, so this is basically what, this is basically xn, তাই তো, p of minus n. This term will basically this, so that means this is basically x of p. যদি z থাকে, we have x of z, so this will be x of p. Now p is basically a inverse z, so that means z transform of a to the power n xn is equal to a inverse z. Let us apply, say, let us, we have a function, say xn equal to, let us find the z transform of, say, a to the power n cos omega 0 n. Okay, okay, so what we'll do, we'll find the z transform of cos omega 0 n. What is the z transform? আমি হোমওয়ার্ক দিয়েছিলাম, what will be the z transform of omega 0 n? নিশ্চয়ই করোনি, আমি জানি তো করবে না। সো কত হবে z transform cos 0 omega n? কত হবে? n equal to, বলো, cos omega 0 n এর z transform যে হোমওয়ার্কটা দিয়েছিলাম, করেছিলে? করনি তো? ভেরি গুড, এরকম করে চালিয়ে যাও। ঠিক আছে, cos omega 0 n un, হ্যাঁ, un দিয়ে দিই, সুবিধা হবে। That means un means it is valid for n greater than 0, so this is 0 to infinity cos omega 0 n z to the power minus n. All right, cos omega 0 n মানে কি? What is cos omega 0 n? E to the power j omega 0 n minus e to the power minus j omega 0 n by 2. This is cos omega 0 n. Okay, according to the De Morgan theorem, is z to the power minus n. So this is half summation n equal to 0 to infinity e to the power j omega 0 n z to the power minus n. Okay, plus summation n equal to 0 to infinity e to the power minus j omega 0 n z to the power minus n. All right, so what will be this sum? What will be this sum? 1 by 1 minus e to the power j omega 0 জেড ইনভার্স ডাইরেক্টলি করে দিচ্ছি। ঠিক আছে, এই সামটা you may check this in my first class on Z transform, and this is 1 by what will be this sum, এটা সাম কত হবে 1 minus e to the power
1
minus
by 1 minus
j omega 0 z to the power minus 1. Alright, ঠিক আছে তো? Now you find out the LCM. LCM কত হবে 1 minus e to the power minus j omega 0 z inverse plus 1 minus e to the power j omega 0 z inverse. There is a plus, okay? This multiplies this. And what about the denominator? Denominator is 1 multiplied by 1. This multiply this is, and this multiply this, কত হবে বলো e to the power j omega 0 plus e to the power minus j omega 0 z inverse plus to multiply this will be z inverse minus 2. ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে, ভুল করেছি কিনা দেখো ভালো করে। ঠিক আছে, so this is so we can write as z transform of cos omega 0 n un is equal to half 2, this is 1 plus 1 2 minus কি হবে কত হবে e to the power j omega 0 plus e to the power minus j omega 0 z minus 1. All right, 1 plus 1 2 minus common, taking minus common, taking minus common, taking minus common. So this is, and the denominator is 1 minus what we can write here, this one is 2 cos omega 0 z inverse, okay, plus z inverse minus 2. So this is, what is this, this one what we can write, this one
say 2 cos omega 0
2 cos omega 0 z inverse 1 minus 2 cos omega 0 z inverse plus z to the power minus 2. So that means 1 minus cos omega 0 by 1 minus 2z inverse cos omega 0 plus z to the power minus 2. Okay, now you are asked to find a to the power n. Now using this property, so replace z by a inverse z. Okay, so replace z by a inverse z. So now a to the power,
স্যার উপরে একটা cos ওমেগার সাথে z ইনভার্স থাকবে না
হ্যাঁ z ইনভার্স থাকবে, এটা আগে লিখবো বলে আমি, ওকে। Okay, now cos omega 0 n un কি হবে বলে ফেলো, রিপ্লেস কি করব, this is your xz, okay, so replace কি করব,
z ইনভার্সের জায়গায় a টু দি পাওয়ার
z inverse
মাইনাস n
a inverse z, okay, so that means 1 minus a inverse of my inverse, that will be plus a z inverse cos omega 0 1 minus 2 a into a inverse z to hold to your inverse, so that is a z inverse cos of omega 0 and plus it will be a square z to the power minus 2. All right, is it clear? Okay, or you can put here directly. So using this property you can find, say for example one একটা homework, so let us find the z transform find the z transform of xn equal to say 0.3n 0.3n cos uh, omega 0 cos omega 0. Okay, n আগেরটা n লিখেছিলাম, cos omega 0 n. All right, and say another homework, uh, xn equal to say 0.5 n sine omega 0 n. All right, or omega 0 may be given to you, so that is 0.3 n cos 2n. Okay, or sine 4n 3n এরকম হতে পারে in exam. All right, next property, we are moving to the next property, that is the derivative property or the multiplication by. First property is the linear property. Second property is multiplication by a to the power n property, or the exponential property, you can say exponential multiplication by exponential sequence. Next is the multiplication by n, or it is also called the differentiation property. All right, differentiation property. So it states if z transform of xn is xz, then z transform of nxn, so multiplication by n, okay, multiplication by n property, this is equal to minus z into derivative of xz. Okay, derivative of xz. If z transform of xn is xz, then z transform of nxn is minus z dx dz. Okay, dz of xz. Okay, or you can, it is also, you can write as z transform of n to the power m xn. All right, n to the power m xn is equal to minus z d dz whole to the power m xz. All right, মানে মনে হচ্ছে কি বেসিক্যালি কিছুই না, খুব সহজ জিনিস। মানে if we have a say for example, if we have say বলো find out the z transform of un. Okay, un, say you know z transform of un. What is z transform of un? What is z transform of un?
1/1 minus z inverse.
1/1 minus z, এইটুকু বললেই আমি আনন্দ পাই, এইটুকু বলতে হবে, that is z by z minus 1. Okay, all right, now z transform of nun, according to this formula, say if it is xz, let this is xz, so it will be the minus z, yeah, minus z, look at here, minus z d dz of this value, z by z minus 1. All right, derivative, so that is minus z minus 1 এর whole square. Okay, z minus 1, z এর derivative 1 minus z, that is so minus z plus z will cancel out, so it will be z by z minus 1 এর whole square. All right, similarly, if you are asked find z transform of n square or n cube, n square un, so you have calculated this n square, this is n un, say this is x1z. Now take this, find out its derivative again to find n square un. Okay, or you may use fundamental property. Let us prove that. বুঝে গেছো তো সবাই আশা করি? If z transform of un is 1, this, so z
স্যার একটা জিনিস খালি বুঝলাম না, মাইনাস জেড ডি ডিজেড অফ হোল টু দি পাওয়ার এম, ওইটার মানেটা কি?
ওটা আবার ডেরিভেটিভ, ওটা ওই রেজাল্টটাকে আবার ডেরিভেটিভ করছে, মানে এইটাকে
মানে ওই অর্ডারে ডেরিভেটিভ হবে।
হ্যাঁ, মানে আমি কি করছি দেখো, এটা তো আমি করছিলাম মাইনাস জেড ডি ডিজেড অফ এক্স জেড করছো তো, এটাকে আবার একটা ব্র্যাকেট দাও, ব্র্যাকেট দিয়ে আবার মাইনাস জেড ডি ডিজেড। ওকে, সেকেন্ড হলো, সেকেন্ড ডেরিভেটিভ যদি এন স্কোয়ার আসে, অলরাইট। আবার যদি থার্ড করো, এগেন মাইনাস ডি ডিজেড অফ এক্স জেড, তো দ্যাট মিনস বেসিক্যালি মাইনাস জেড ডি ডিজেড অফ টু দি পাওয়ার এম, তাই না? আর তো এম এর ডেরিভেটিভ ইউ হ্যাভ n to the power m, that means you have to derivative, find the derivative of xz in the odd degree of up to mth derivative. All right, let us prove. বুঝে গেছো তো, আশা করি বুঝেছো। 11
Yes,
চ্যাপ্টার
sir.
11, হ্যাঁ। তো let us prove. No, proof is not important for us. Okay. uh, now say for example, if say z transform, say z transform we know of xn is xz, that is n equal to minus infinity to plus infinity xn z to the power minus n. All right. Now z transform of nxn, z transform of nxn, using our first principle we can write is n xn z to the power minus n. All right. All right. So we can club this in xn, in zn. So we can write this as in minus infinity plus infinity xn, all right, in z to the power minus n minus 1. So যেমন আমরা জানি যে ডেরিভেটিভ অফ xn is n xn minus 1. Okay, so the derivative of, so that means derivative of z to the power minus n will be minus n z to the power minus n minus 1. Okay, so that means আমরা কি এনেছি, n z to the power minus 1. Okay, so that means that should be adjust here, so it is adjust by z. Okay, okay, তো তাই তো,
Yes, sir.
তাই তো একটা মাইনাসের সাইনও আসবে, কারণ z to the power minus n to be minus n, so you can adjust this minus z from n equal to minus infinity plus infinity xn minus n z to the power minus n minus 1. This is basically derivative of what, z to the power minus n. All right, this is basically the derivative of z to the power minus 1. Now change the operator. We know the sum will not change. If we sum will, শুনতে পাচ্ছ তো?
Yes, sir.
So we know if we change the operator, that is this sum and this derivative operator, we know the sum will not change. So changing the operator, this is basically n minus n, changing the operator. Okay, first sum then derivative. Now if you change the order, first derivative, derivative then sum, you can change first sum then derivative, so it will remain, you will get the same result. So this is basically, again you changing the operator, okay. Now this is basically the definition xn, okay, or xz. So that means minus z d dz of xz. Okay, অলরাইট, ঠিক আছে। তো একটা হোমওয়ার্ক দিয়ে দিচ্ছে, ফাইন্ড দ্য জেড ট্রান্সফর্ম অফ n cube un, find z transform of n cube un. All right, now the property 4, property for time reversal property, time reversal. Now it states that if z transform of xn is xz, now you reverse the signal, that is z transform of x of minus n is equal to x of z inverse. All right, just reverse the signal. You know ut and u of minus t. You know ut. You know u and u of minus t is the reversal u of minus t. Similarly here, if you have a signal xn and its z transform is xz, then z transform of x of minus n, which is the reversal of xn, is the, can be found by replacing z by z inverse. All right, let us prove. কি হবে তাহলে বলো? According to our definition, we know z transform of xn is summation n equal to minus infinity to plus infinity xn z to the power minus n. Okay, so therefore z transform of x of minus n, by definition it will be minus infinity to plus infinity x of minus n z to the power minus n. All right, all right. Now introduce a variable p which is equal to minus n. If we introduce a variable p equal to minus n, sum will remain same. It will be p of minus infinity to plus infinity. This will becomes xp. It will be because n equal to minus n. Sorry, p equal to minus n, and this will be z to the power p. Okay, z to the power p, because n equal to minus p. Okay, n equal to minus p or minus p equal n equal to p. All right, that means we can write this as p equal to minus infinity to plus infinity xp. All right, xp আর কি লিখতে পারি? This is z inverse minus p. Hmm? Zp can be write as z inverse into minus p. Okay, so that means this is basically what? Same as this. Only thing is that here z is replaced by z inverse. That means this is basically x of z inverse. All right. This is the definition of xn, which is equal to xz. So here, this expression and this expression are same. Only thing is that the z is replaced by z inverse. So it will be x of z inverse. Okay. So homework: if if z transform of un is known to you, okay, find the z transform of u of minus n. You can find that. Okay. This is the time reversal. Next, we'll move to the moving to the initial value theorem and final value theorem.
স্যার
হ্যাঁ বলো।
বলছি স্যার আগে যেটা ছিল ওখানে যখন p ইকুয়ালস টু মাইনাস n ধরছি তো লিমিটে স্যার
তাহলে
n
লিমিটে কি হবে?
ইকুয়ালস টু জানতো
তাহলে n ইকুয়াল টু p ইকুয়াল টু ইনফিনিটি প্লাস মাইনাস ইনফিনিটি হবে, উপরে নিচে প্লাস ইনফিনিটি হবে, নিচে প্লাস
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
উপরে মাইনাস হবে, বেসিক্যালি তো সেম, বেসিক্যালি তো সেম. তোমার you have to calculate the summation from minus infinity to plus infinity. Here plus infinity to minus infinity, basically you will get the same set of data, না? Same set of data পাবে.
yes
Same.
হ্যাঁ
Homework: find the z transform of u of minus n. Okay. Now the initial value theorem. We know that initial values আর এটাও তো আমরা জানি, if a to b fx dx, integration a to b fx dx is equal to integration a to b fz dz. এটা তো ছোটবেলা পড়েছি. Same logic. Integration of a to b fx dx is equal to integration of a to b fz dz. That means if this is the sum, this is the sum, this sum we are calling is as x. Same logic you can use here. These two summation will, these two integration will give same result. That means these two summation will give same. Only thing is that z will be replaced by minus z. Okay. Initial value theorem and final value theorem. Initial value. Initial and final value theorem. Okay, now what is the initial value theorem? What was the initial value theorem, final value theorem for Laplace transform? Say if a function ft and whose Laplace transform is fs, then what is the initial value? Initial value of ft মনে পড়ছে কত ছিল initial value? Limit extends to infinity s of fs. And what is the final value? That is the f of infinity. What is the final value? Limit s tends to 0
0.
f0 s of মনে আছে মনে পড়ছে this was the initial value and final value. This was the initial value theorem, final value theorem for Laplace transformation. Okay, so here what will be the initial value and final value of a series xn? We know initial value will be x0 and final initial value is initial value. This is the initial value and x infinity will be the final value. So if we know if z transform of xn is xz, and if we know xz, then how to find initial value and final value of a sequence? ঠিক আছে, এগুলো মনে পড়ছে বাকি থিওরিতে করেছিলে? So what will be the initial value and final value of the of xn? ঠিক আছে, now initial value we know will be x0. Initial value we can find initial value x0, which is limit z tends to infinity xz. All right, initial value, if we know xz, if z transform of xn, if z transform of xn is xz, then initial value of xn is limit z tends to infinity xz, initial value theorem. And the final value of xn is limit z tends to 1 z by z minus 1 by z xz. Okay, this is the final value theorem. Okay, if you know the z transform of a sequence xn, which is xz, then from xz you can find the initial value and the final value. অলরাইট, খুব সহজ, আমি ইনিশিয়াল ভ্যালু থিওরামটা করে দিচ্ছি, খুব সহজ ইনিশিয়াল ভ্যালু থিওরাম। ওকে, লেট আস প্রুভ। কেমন হবে বলো? জেড ট্রান্সফর্ম অফ এক্সএন কি হয়? জেড ট্রান্সফর্ম অফ এক্সএন which is xn কি হয় বলো? sum equal to
1 minus
infinity to plus infinity xn z to the power minus
Z
1.
to the power minus 1.
minus 1.
Okay, let us consider the right hand signal only, right hand side only. Okay, that is better. All these signals, it is also valid for causal signal, that is for time greater than equal to 0. Okay, that means here you write this as n equal to 0 to infinity. All right, that means this is x0 plus x1 z to the power minus 1 plus x2 z to the power minus 2 plus x3 z to the power minus 3 and up to infinity. This is the xz. Okay, this is the z transform of xn, which is known as xz. So xz is this. So initial value theorem, initial value, that means you have to find x0. So how to set that means you can write this as x0 plus x1 by z, x2 by z square, x cube by z cube up to infinity. Okay, this is xz. So now put z equal to infinity. If you put z equal to infinity, all term will be vanished. So that means in the right hand side we have only only x0. Okay, so let us write z tends to infinity xz. So that means all terms will vanish, only x0. So that means the initial value x0 is equal to limit z tends to infinity xn. Like that. Okay, similarly you can prove this also xn. Okay, uh, all right.
Yes.
Find the z initial value and final value of a signal whose z transform is 1 by 1 minus z to the power minus 2. Find initial value and final value of a signal xn whose z transform is 1 by 1 minus z to the power minus 2. Okay, let us find its initial value. So we know initial value. Let us find initial value of the signal. So initial value we know is, just a minute, initial value is x0, which is limit z tends to infinity xz. That is limit z tends to infinity 1 by 1 minus z to the power minus 2. That is limit z to the power tends to infinity 1 by 1 minus z square. 1 by 1 minus 1 by z square. Now when it is infinity, this will be 0. There is 1 minus 1 by z. So initial value is 1. Alright. So the final value, what is the final value? The final value, so its final value we know is x infinity is equal to limit z tends to 1 z minus 1 by z into xz. This is the formula of final value theorem. Please memorize it because we don't have the time. You can in the exam you will not get enough time to find the to derive this formula. You can derive, you can easily derive, but please memorize. So this one is limit z tends to 1. You can write this as 1 by 1 minus z inverse. Okay, z by 1 is xz. Xz is known. Okay, so now in the denominator we have a square minus b square. That is a plus b into a minus b. Okay, this is a square minus b square. So we can write this as, so this will cancel out. So we have limit z tends to 1, 1 by, so limit z tends to 1, 1 by 1 plus z inverse. That's 1 by 1 plus 1 equal to half. So initial value is 1 and the final value is half. So I'm giving some homework. uh, 4 minus 2z inverse by 1 plus 2z inverse minus 3z to the power minus 2. Okay, a signal xn whose z transform is this. Find its initial value and the final value. All right, you have to factorize this. Okay, you can factor করতে পারবে, middle term factor, you can find the middle term. Okay, so find the initial value and final value of the discrete signal whose z transform is given by 4 minus 2z inverse by 1 plus 2z inverse minus 3z to the power minus 2. All right. Now the last tomorrow we'll discuss time shifting property. That is the most vital property. And now I'm discussing the convolution property. You know convolution property. Now if z transform of xn, convolution property, কত নম্বর property? 6 না? Property 6. If z transform of xn is xz and z transform of yn is yz, then what will be the z transform of xn convolution yn? Okay, if z transform of xn is xz, then and the z transform of yn is yz, then what will be the z transform of xn convolution yn? Answer is it will be xz multiplied by yz. As before, for Laplace transform, we know if Laplace transform of xt is xs and Laplace transform of gt is gs, then Laplace transform of xt convolution gt is equal to xs into gs. Now, what is convolution in time domain? You know, convolution means xt gt is integration 0 to infinity. You can write 0 to infinity or 0 to tau. G, sorry, xt or x tau gt minus tau t tau. Or you can also write this as 0 to integration 0 to t. You can write gt first, g tau xt minus tau d tau. এরকম লিখতে পারো। ওকে, তাহলে this is, you know, you are familiar with convolution in time domain, and I think sir Anirban sir already they discussed in the model 1 graphical convolution and the mathematical convolution, you know, same. So if we have a two discrete signal xn and yn, and then its convolution is, you know, what is xn into gn? What is xn into gn? কত হবে? সরি, gn তো আমার নেই, yn আছে। কি হবে একটু বলবে? কি হবে বলো? এটা xn আর yn এর ফর্মুলা, কনভলিউশন অফ xn yn of, this will be, let us, instead of tau here you write m, so m will be minus infinity to plus infinity xm y of n minus m. Okay, so just we are in case of time domain convolution, and so we have two variables t and tau, so we are derivative finding the integration with respect to tau. Similarly here find the sum from two variable, as if here tau means m and t means n. Okay, so you can also write this as summation m equal to minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, you can first write x of m minus n y of m as before. This is the formula. Okay, the convolution in time domain, just like convolution in time domain, this is a convolution of, this is a convolution of analog signal, this is a convolution of discrete signal. Same, that the integration is replaced by sum. We know here t and tau, there are two variables, so we are finding the integration with respect to tau. So here we have to find the summation with respect to m. There are two variable, হ্যাঁ, টাইমটাকে আমি ধরেছিলাম এখানে অ্যাজ ইফ n, তাই তো? তাহলে আমাকে টাউটাকে ধরতে হবে m, টাউটাকে m হিসেবে ভাবো, সাম ইন্টিগ্রেশন 0 to t with respect to d tau, so it will be summation m equal to minus infinity. Actually this integration will be minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, পরে তোমরা শিখেছো নিশ্চয়ই। Okay, this is the formula of convolution. So you can use this, say for example, say xn is equal to un, all right, and say yn is equal to say 2 to the power n un, and you are asked to find the convolution of z transform of convolution of xn yn, এটা বার করতে বলো। Okay, that means, so there should be xz multiplied by yz. Okay, convolution in sequence domain, convolution in sequence domain is just the multiplication in z domain. So we know z, if xn is equal to un, then xz will be 1 by 1 minus z inverse. Okay, and if yn is 2 to the power n un, that means, sorry, not 2 to the power, converge করবে না, তোমরা বলছো না, টু হলে কনভার্জ করবে না, হাফ টু দি পাওয়ার এন, আর শুড বি লেস দেন ওয়ান। ওকে, সো yz is equal to 1 by half z inverse, that is z by z minus 1, z by z minus half. So what will be the, this just multiplication, the answer will be just multiplication. So it is z minus 1 into z by z minus half. All right.